Hey there, my name is Jasmine Sky, and I'm here today with the promised video talking about all the steps and everything that happened that led up to me getting my book deal. If you have not yet watched that announcement or saw it on Twitter, then I will link the video. I think it's on this side. I am debuting with a queer YA fantasy duology from Fywell and Friends, and I am super excited, and you can learn all about it in that video and understand why I'm wearing a wolf shirt, and also I have rose earrings. Yeah, it's good. So let's talk about how this book deal happened, how I ended up here where I am with this 2-book deal with Fywell and Friends, which is an imprint of Macmillan Children's Publishing Group, and everything that led up to that. First off, in order to get published with a traditional publishing house, you typically need an agent. Like the vast majority of cases, you will need an agent. I got an agent in 2020, August 2020. I have that video. Also, if you want to learn about how I got my agent and sort of the early processes of this book, the book that I sold is also the book that I signed with my agent with. So you can learn all about that in my How I Got My Agent video. So I got my agent in August 2020. We did some revisions together, and then we went out on submission for the first time in October 2020. My initial submission list, I believe, had 10 editors on it. Some agents start with small first rounds, like 5 editors. Some of them start with really big first rounds, like 20 editors. We started in the middle. We started with 10. The complicated part of my submission story starts a couple months after that, when I received my first R&R request. An R&R is a revise and resubmit request. It is something that either an agent or an editor can ask you when you're querying or on submission, and I didn't ever get an R&R request when I was querying, but on sub, I had 3 editors requesting R&Rs, so, I made up for it in the end. But yes, I did get an R&R request, and my agent and I did agree that the R&R was a good request, that it was important, that the thing that the editor pointed out, which was a sort of problematic element with my novel, a problematic aspect of the world building, was just not okay. We agreed to a call with the editor, and we talked over some ways that we could fix it. Unfortunately, fixing this aspect of the world building required completely changing the central conflict. We had a 2-hour call with this editor. It went really, really well. I was very excited, and I was ready to dive in and do a major rewrite of my book to make it better, and that was my draft 5 vlog. So if you saw those vlogs, I will link them over there. There were 2 draft 5 vlogs and then draft 5.5 vlog. That was me working on this major rewrite for this editor. Once we finished this major rewrite, we went back on submission in February. Unfortunately, things did not work out with this editor who had initially requested the R&R. That does happen. Something like 80% of R&Rs end up falling through, so they're not a guarantee, which is why if you ever do get an R&R, you need to make sure it's something that you agree with and that you feel very strongly is a change that you would like to make the book stronger or better in some way or another. My agent and I agreed that this rewrite would make the book better, and it did, and even though the initial R&R didn't land us with a deal, a couple months after I first went out on sub, it was better in the end that it happened. So that fell through, but we were still out on submission back to the original list. So to jump ahead a little bit, I was on submission for 14 months, but not really, because there were several months in the middle there that I had pulled the submission for this R&R and then went back on a submission. So I think I was really only on submission for 12 months. So for 1 year, I was on submission. But anyway, we went back out on sub in February, and then I waited, got a bunch of rejections, as you do, and then I received my second editor R&R request in the summer. This is what led to my draft 6 vlog. I believe I posted that one in July, which was me rewriting the beginning of the novel. This second editor really wanted me to speed up the beginning. I talked about it in this vlog, where basically the beginning of my novel was just a little bit too slow for the current YA fantasy market, and this editor had ideas for how I could sort of get to the action a little bit faster. It was something my agent and I had already been talking about. Also, similarly to the first R&R, that was something my agent and I had discussed might be a problem. So we both were on the same page that this change needed to happen, and I rewrote the beginning of my novel in that first draft 6 vlog and sent it off to this editor. Well, unfortunately that one also fell through. But I got my third editor R&R request, which was from my current editor, Holly West of Fywell and Friends. She pointed out another big problem with the story that actually my agent and I had not foreseen and had not discussed before. But upon reflection, we're like, oh, she's right. We ended up having a call with Holly in September and talked over this issue basically that came from that first R&R. What happened is when I made that change to the central conflict of the story, my main character's motivation fizzled. I no longer had that really strong motivation for the main character to engage with the plot that the original story that got me my agent had, because the conflict had changed, but no motivation had been kind of re-established, or the motivation that was established was not as strong. So Holly pointed out this issue and said that there needed to be something that would grip the readers more and make us care about Rosie's journey in the story. This conflict is what ended up becoming the whole part of my story. If you watch my previous video where Rosie has to go to Witch Hall in order to save Gran, and actually I loved adding this back into the story because saving Gran and the relationship Rosie has with her grandmother was a huge part of the first draft of the book that kind of got written out in later drafts because of other conflict. So adding it back in just felt like going back to my roots with the story, and that's really the theme of all of these R&Rs, writing these better versions of the story that veered from the things that were wrong in the original, but also came back to the original heart of the book. So I am happier with the book now than I have ever been before, having this sort of return to the original heart of the story and the original themes of the story, even though we added this huge war element, which was not ever in the very first drafts of the book. That was the conflict that we created for that major rewrite for the first editor R&R. But the way the war themes sort of intermingle with the other themes that were there, themes of family and of responsibility, that's what I love about this book, and that's what makes me just so excited for this revision. So anyway, first editor R&R fell through, second editor R&R fell through, third editor R&R came from Holly. You can already see the end of this story. It did not fall through, but I didn't know that at the time. All I knew in September was that I had this call with Holly, and I was so excited for this revision. I had been really burned out about this book. I was coming up on a year on submission in October, not fully a year being on submission the whole year, but a year where we had been, working on this book, and almost 2 years of me working on the book, 2 years since I had originally come up with the first draft of the book. So I was a bit burned out, and I was ready to just move on to the next thing. But then I went into this call with Holly in September, and it was like the energy just like came back into my body. We connected immediately. I really felt like she understood my themes and my characters. She loved Shaw and Rosie as much as I do, and I really loved all of her ideas. I understood them. I was able to sort of spin off them and come up with things that I was excited about to add into the story to really help this central element that was missing, and I was just so ready and energized to write the next R&R. So that was my draft 6 again, where I went back to the beginning and started over. The great thing about the situation with Holly is that even though what she wants is a major rewrite, she didn't require me to rewrite the entire novel before looking at it. She just asked that I sort of showed proof of concept with the first 75 pages, and then a complete chapter outline for the rest of the book and of book 2, which is what I did. So that draft 6, the second draft 6 vlog, was me doing that complete rewrite of the first 75 pages and then writing the chapter outline, which I don't remember if I talk about in that vlog or not, but it was part of the work that I was doing at the time, was also writing the chapter outline for the rest of it. And then I turned it in to my agent in November, and she read it and approved it, and then we sent it to Holly, I think on like November 7th, early November. Literally the next day, 24 hours later, Holly got back to us that she loved it and she was going to take it to acquisitions. After having come off of 2 failed R&Rs and a lot of rejections, I was just like, wow, that was fast and exciting, and like, I don't know how to feel. I had never been to acquisitions before. I did get to second reads before, but acquisitions is the final step. It's where the editors and the marketing publishing team come together and decide whether they're actually going to buy a novel. So to know that I was going to be in an acquisitions meeting was super exciting and also extremely scary, because this was literally this book's last chance. If Holly and Five and Friends turned us down, then this book was not going to get published and I'd have to move on. And on one hand, I had been ready to move on, but once I did this R&R for Holly, I was so excited about this book again and so excited about the new direction the story was going, and I wanted to write the rest of the book. So there was a lot riding on this acquisitions meeting. The acquisitions meeting was scheduled for December 1st, so I had to wait like 3.5 weeks and all the way through Thanksgiving, and the whole time I was just sitting there like, I don't know what to do myself, because I didn't have anything to work on, because I was waiting to see if this book was going to get bought and if I needed to keep going, but I didn't want to try to distract myself with something else if it did get bought, right? So I was just like, I was sitting there and I was just in a lot of panic and emotions, right? On December 1st at like noon, my agent texted me saying she hadn't heard anything yet, but she was going to check in a couple hours with Holly and see where they were. And then an hour later, she called me and I picked up the phone and my agent was like, "Can you guess why I'm calling you?" And I was like, I mean, yes, but I didn't want to say it. I was so scared. I mean, there was very little other reason why she'd be calling me if it wasn't an offer. But part of me was just so worried because I had been burned before with these editor R&Rs and just like everything about this book being on submission, you know, since October of the last year. I was so scared that it was going to end up being not even a no, because she wouldn't have called me for a no, but even if it was like another R&R request, I was so ready for an answer. So I was like, I think I know, but you got to tell me. And my agent said, Holly offered. And I started crying and I was at work and my coworkers were all like, "Oh my gosh, Evelyn, are you okay?" And I was like, "I got a book deal." It was a big thing. But yeah, I got an offer and I was over the moon. I was truly over the moon. I think honestly, despite all of the work that went into this book and despite coming so close and not making it with 2 previous editors, it really was a third time's the charm situation, and it really was the best things come to those who wait, because I am so happy to be working with Holly, and the book, the vision that she helped me create for the book as it is now is leagues above even the version that got me my agent. Everything about it is better, more exciting, more accessible, more queer. Like everything is better. And I am so excited for whoever wants to be able to read it someday, because I truly love this story and I love the characters and I love the world. I love everything that has happened, and I am having so much fun doing the rest of draft 6. I'm currently working on my draft 6 vlog. It'll come out at some point, maybe next week, maybe the week after. It's a lot. I still have to finish the rest of the book. I sold it based on 75 pages and an outline. So there's a lot of writing still to happen, but it feels great. I'm just really excited that things worked out the way they did. So that's my lesson to y'all, that even if things don't work out immediately, sometimes waiting is better, and sometimes you gotta push through some more difficulties in order to end up with your happy ending. I was on sub for 14/12 months, depending on how you count it. I had a lot of rejections, as is normal, and I had 2 failed editor R&Rs, which happens, and I am so excited by the excitement everyone has shown me about the book since I was able to announce it, and it just feels like a dream come true. Honestly, it really feels like a dream come true. So that's how I got my book deal. But I would be happy to make videos about anything that you guys want to know about this part of the publishing process. If you want to know what comes in an offer letter from a publishing house, if you want to know what an acquisitions meeting is about, if you want to know what it's been like or what it will be like working with my editor. I'm gonna have to wait a little longer on that to, you know, actually work with my editor more. But if you want to know anything about that, any questions that you guys have about that, please go ahead and suggest videos down below because I would love to make some. I also think I'm probably going to do a Q&A. If there's any smaller questions about my process, my book, what it was like, my querying journey, my submission journey, random questions about book content, whatever it is, any questions that you have about me or anything that I've been doing for the last however many years, please go ahead and put those down below because I will make a Q&A video because I've never done one of those before and I think that would be really fun. As always, there are links in my description to causes that need your support, so please go ahead and check those out. And I look forward to chatting with y'all in the comments.